Tonight, anger over the Scottish Government's response to the deaths of Scots abroad. A father whose son died in Thailand says a legal loophole is blocking hundreds of families from getting information and closure.
We're just going to be stuck in an unending limbo with, I guess, unending grief. We're never going to have answers.
Also making the headlines, shops in Scotland could need a licence to sell vapes as part of a crackdown on rogue traders. The Scottish Conservatives back their UK party leader Kemi Badenoch's pledge to scrap stamp duty if they win the next election. In a sport exclusive, Rangers Chiefs are to hold Steven Gerrard talks in London tomorrow over the manager's position. And you're the one that I want. Meet these Scottish teens taking to the stage with their own production of Grease. I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. The father of a Scot who died in Thailand has branded the Scottish Government's response to his death as shambolic and says a legal loophole is blocking them and hundreds of other families from getting information and closure. Davy Cornock from Montrose was told his son David's death did not meet the threshold for a fatal accident inquiry as he was living in Thailand at the time. Now families and MSPs argue a new law is the only route to justice. Here's our political reporter, Laura Alderman.
Davy from Montrose will never forget the last conversation he had with his son David.
He was in a pub in Thailand having his roast dinner, a Sunday roast dinner. That's the last time I spoke to my son, and I can still hear his voice, you know.
In 2019, David was living in the Southeast Asian country with his young family when he was found dead one morning. Thai authorities said David died by suicide, but Davy believes he was murdered. The family were told they didn't meet the threshold for a fatal accident inquiry here because David was an ordinarily resident in Scotland when he died.
After you repatriate to Scotland, your chances of closure, justice, insurance are finished. This government in Scotland has been shambolic. We've been at the First Minister, Justice Minister, Lord Advocate. The Lord Advocate and Justice Minister need to sit in a room. One blames the other. David's young fella now is 14. He's asking what happened to my dad, granddad. It's only you that know. I really don't have any answers to give. We're just going to be stuck in an unending limbo with, I guess, unending grief.
Not a single fatal accident inquiry into the death of a Scot abroad has been launched since the law was changed to allow it in 2016. Julie from Glasgow was heavily involved in that campaigning at the time. Her son Colin died on holiday in Venezuela in 2009.
It's horrendous. It's 16 years and it still feels like yesterday. There's got to be a kind of clear, concise roadmap for anybody that this happens to, you know, whether it's an individual person or organisation, but there's got to be a clear roadmap to each step that these families can take.
The calls of Julie, Davy and other bereaved families were heard at Holyrood today.
It's absolutely clear to me that the law has failed, it doesn't work, and that we need a new law to replace it. I think there's lots of ways that it could be approached. In England, for instance, they have a situation with coroner's inquiries that actually between 200 and 400 deaths of English people abroad result in inquiries that are available to people. So some of those are reasonably light touch that gives people some of the answers that they actually need. There could be an equivalent system in Scotland, but I don't think what we can agree on is that what we have at the moment is not sustainable.
I think people need to understand, exactly, if I do choose to live abroad, what protections can I expect from the government that I've left behind? And I think, there's a communication piece there across both governments, and I'm glad that both governments are communicating better in this regime now.
The Crown Office says it has limited jurisdiction to investigate deaths that occur outside Scotland, and any changes to the law would be a matter for Parliament. Even with cross-party support, families speaking here today said they're all too aware of how slow the wheels of legal change can turn and how long their wait might be for answers. Laura Alderman, STV News, Holyrood.
Scotland will look to strengthen the existing regulations for retailers selling vaping products rather than introducing a licensing scheme. It comes after ministers in Westminster said it would crack down on rogue traders selling to children. One of Scotland's biggest vape sellers says the whole UK needs a joined-up approach. Lewis Mickey reports.
Millions of people across the UK vape. It's an industry worth billions of pounds, but even some of the sector's biggest players have been advocating for more regulation. The next step in that regulation could be the requirement for all sellers to obtain a licence.
We think that primarily it is a step in the right direction, which is really good. And the next thing for us is that we want to see it actually being enforced, which has been usually the problem around government legislation coming in.
That's the measure the UK government will look to bring in, but it doesn't look like the Scottish government will follow suit. At the moment, retailers in Scotland like this one are required to be on the register of tobacco and nicotine vapour products. The consultation paper suggests instead of licensing here, they will just extend the scope of that register.
It makes sense for it to apply in both areas, and also because it is sensible legislation, so it really wouldn't make sense for one side of the government or one country to adopt it and not the other.
Earlier this year, the sale of single-use disposable vapes was banned. The latest proposal could add another hoop for businesses to jump through.
In like Australia and New Zealand, they've got quite a lot of regulations over there. For them to get vape juice, it's proper solid, like extremely hard. And if they start bringing those regulations over to the UK, then it'll probably make it quite difficult in this country as well. And if I'm paying 30 quid for a wee bottle, it's I'd rather just go back to smoking cigarettes, if I'm honest.
Well, as long as you're aged to do it. As long as you're aged, I think so.
The Scottish Government says the tobacco and vaping register has been working successfully for more than 10 years. So instead of looking to take powers for a licensing scheme, it will opt to look at improving the existing framework. Lewis Mickey, STV News, Edinburgh.
The Scottish Conservatives say they would scrap the tax on home sales in Scotland after Kemi Badenoch pledged to abolish stamp duty in England in her closing speech at the Tory conference in Manchester. It comes as the Conservatives try to win back political momentum from reform, as our Westminster correspondent Paris Goutsianis reports.
Conservatives gathered in Manchester have been smelling the coffee. With Nigel Farage's Reform Party steaming ahead, some Tories worry their best days are behind them. Kemi Badenoch's job was to inject some energy back into her party and silence those who say what the Conservatives need is a change of leadership.
A weak economy and weak borders means steady decline. I reject that fate.
The Tory pitch on the economy comes with £47 billion of spending cuts, half of that on welfare.
Labour, Lib Dems, Greens, the Nationalists and Reform are all demanding more welfare spending. They don't care that it's not fair, but we do.
Kemi Badenoch also promised to re-energise Scotland's offshore industries.
We chose a slogan of net zero over a serious strategy for a stronger economy and a better environment. So I am saying enough. I am reversing this. So when it comes to the North Sea, we have a very simple policy. Drill our oil and gas now.
Half of all savings would go towards tax cuts, including one surprise announcement.
Conference, the next Conservative government will abolish stamp duty on your home.
The Scottish Tories say they would also scrap the tax on sales of main homes if they won power in Scotland. Is that going to take the fight to reform in Scotland?
I think it certainly will. We need now Russell to back that up with some of the policy announcements that are for the Scottish Parliament.
The number of mentions that we had for oil and gas industry, for farming, things that I'm so passionate about for North East Scotland in particular, but Scotland as a whole. It was a fantastic speech, a fantastic plan, and I'm so ready to go out and sell her message.
The SNP today are launching, guess what, another blueprint for independence. By contrast, this is a really fresh, exciting agenda, a proper blueprint to how we can lift the country to new heights.
Kemi Badenoch will hope that that speech has done enough to silence her critics and take back momentum from reform. But the Tories still face tough elections at Holyrood next year. This was her first conference speech. Some will still be asking if it's her last. Paris Goutsianis, STV News, Manchester.
The First Minister says devolution has reached its limits and claims independence could improve living standards in Scotland. Opposition politicians dismiss the Fresh Start with Independence paper as detached from reality. John Swinney says self-government is working for people, but living standards have ground to a halt in the UK.
In a context where living standards are stalled in the United Kingdom and that people are living on net income, which is, that's been stagnant for years, a new constitutional structure with the opportunities that our international neighbours enjoy, that combination of independence and EU membership is a pathway to enabling individuals to have higher living standards.
A report is criticising the Scottish Government and councils for failing to give enough thought to the work needed to deliver a pledge to improve the lives of young people who go through the care system. The promise was launched in 2020 by the then First Minister Nicola Sturgeon. Ministers say they're taking the report seriously and remain committed to delivering the changes needed. This report from our political correspondent Ewan Petrie contains flash photography from the start.
We will keep the promise.
At its launch, there was optimism the promise would achieve its aim of improving the lives of care-experienced young people within 10 years.
I think 6 years on, I don't think people that are working in the sector or care-experienced people themselves will have seen that there's been enough done.
Robert has worked with those affected. As a councillor, he's also been closely involved in delivering policies to fulfil the promise.
I think there's a real lack of leadership at a national and a local level. I have deep concerns that it won't be fulfilled by 2030, and I think the three First Ministers since 2020 have stood in front of care-experienced people and told them it's their priority, and I think they're letting them down.
A report from Audit Scotland and the Accounts Commission found the Scottish Government and councils did not give sufficient thought to the work that would be needed. It says this has meant public bodies were not given a strong foundation to deliver on the care review ambitions. The watchdogs also found ministers were slow to develop a framework to measure progress. They also highlight a lack of clarity about the roles and responsibilities of the body set up to deliver the promise.
There needs to be a clarity about which organisations are going to do what, when, how much money there's going to be available, what the governance is going to be around the decision making to deliver the promise. So a report looks at how it was set up, what steps are now need to be taken.
Ministers and councils insist the promise does remain on track.
There are already a number of children, young people and care-experienced adults who have benefited from the investment and the policy put in place by the Scottish Government. But what I would say is that the promise really relates to transformational change. This is not an overnight fix. This is essentially transforming systems that have been in place for a number of years. So we knew that this was going to be a difficult task. I am confident that the promise will be delivered by 2030.
The report warns there must be significant improvements in the next 6 months if that is to be achieved. Ewan Petrie, STV News.
A man who often posed as a road traffic lawyer on TikTok has been convicted of killing a pensioner in a car crash. Lee Sutherland was speeding with unsafe brakes when he crashed into 77-year-old Margaret Allen near Cumbernauld in June 2023. A young passenger was also hurt. Sutherland will be sentenced at a later date. District nurses in Greater Glasgow have voted for strike action in a dispute over pay banding. The Unison unions say nurses have had enough after waiting years for a review of job descriptions. NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde says it fully supports the modernisation of roles. The father of a Celtic fan killed in a motorway after boarding the wrong bus home says he needs answers about how it happened. John Burns died walking in the M6 near Carlisle last September. Raheem Cham reports.
These were John Burns' final moments on board a Celtic supporters bus following the club's game against Hearts in Glasgow last September. But John was on the wrong bus. It was going south to England. He got off in Carlisle. Shortly after that, he was seen walking on the M6 motorway, where he was hit by several cars and killed. A year on, his father is still looking for answers.
I want to know how we got on a bus, how we got to Carlisle, how we parked off a bus in Carlisle and left his own devices in a strange place where he's obviously been intoxicated and went and walked his death in a motorway. A supporters bus full of English people and they don't even, he's not even, how does somebody not say, who are you, what you doing? Do you know what I mean? Can we help you?
James says the incident has destroyed him.
I had to move my settee from that corner to this corner because every time I sat here at night for 5.5 months, I seen a car or a taxi or whatever going by, I would get up and look at the spy hole, see if it was him, and it was obviously I knew it wasn't him, but just in there it was just might be. Do you know what I mean? It's I don't know. It's hard.
John is survived by his son, but was also seen as a father figure by his younger half-brother, James.
Every Saturday he used to come to my football games, he used to support me. If I didn't have any money for a school or a drink, he'd give me it. He was always there for me. See, when my mammy died in 2021, he was the first person that he took me in basically. He was there for me. He didn't really act. He acted like another father figure for me.
John had been using his brother's Snapchat account, giving James access to his final posts and what may be crucial clues about his final hours.
Before he died, I knew he was missing, and the same day I had a football game and I couldn't focus. And then that night, I kept sending messages like, John, where are you, and all that, and I didn't know it was too late. And I think I can remember I sent him one message saying, John, where are you? And he said, help, or something like that. And that was the last time I've ever spoke to him.
An inquest into the incident will be held at Cumbria Coroner's Court tomorrow. Raheem Cham, STV News, Glasgow.
Brahman has the sport, and you've been busy bashing the phones.
Yep, John, some of us do hard work. Yeah, I've got the very latest at Rangers.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
Good evening. STV Sport can reveal Rangers Chairman Andrew Kavanagh and Vice Chairman Parag Marathi will hold talks with Steven Gerrard in London tomorrow over the vacant manager's position. Gerrard, who was Ibrox boss between 2018 to 2021, is under serious consideration for the post, but we've been told other candidates are still on the shortlist. Gerrard was the last Rangers manager to win the Premiership 4 years ago before quitting for Aston Villa. Well, prior to Russell Martin's sacking, speaking to Rio Ferdinand on his podcast, Gerrard says he has unfinished business in management. Speaking to TalkSport Breakfast this morning, Ferdinand believes Gerrard would return to Ibrox for a second spell.
He never said this to me, but I personally think just the energy that I felt in that room, that if Rangers came calling, that he'd go and he'd at least have that conversation. But this is the thing, I think, when I get to sit down with these guys, I get to kind of pick at them and understand them. And what I felt is that if I was an owner of a football club and Steven Gerrard was sat in front of me and I felt that energy I felt in the room when I was interviewing him, he's getting a job.
And more on that story on our website. Now, Steve Clarke is calling on his players to rise to the occasion against Greece tomorrow and says they should treat this campaign as their last chance to make it to a World Cup. The Dark Blues sit second in Group C, 1 point ahead of the visitors, with Ryan Christie admitting the squad are looking for revenge after their Hampden defeat to the Greeks in March. Here's Ronnie Charters.
There's no place like home for Steve Clarke and his Scotland squad. After their opening two qualifiers away, the Scots now get set for a Hampden double-header to continue their positive start. These players have the weight of history on their shoulders, looking to become the first national team since '98 to qualify for a World Cup. And from Clarke himself, a rallying call.
Obviously they know that they've managed to qualify for two tournaments, they've been at two tournaments. They understand how close they got the last time in the World Cup campaign. It was a really good qualifying campaign. The playoff game didn't go our way. And they feel that they should have already had that World Cup experience, but they haven't. So if you look, it's 1998 since we were last there, so every chance we have to look at is our last chance. So why not do it this time?
In a late call-up, right-back Max Johnson has been added to the squad after initially being left out of this double-header. In terms of the opponents, you only have to go back to March for the last time the Scots lined up at home against the Greeks, and it didn't go to plan. A 3-0 defeat in the Nations League playoff second leg relegated the Dark Blues, and one man who was in the team that night is eyeing redemption.
So obviously that was a frustrating night for us. We've definitely watched clips from that game in terms of trying to learn from it and where we can, avoid the mistakes we made on the night and, hurt them a little bit more. It's a team we know obviously that we can beat. There's a chance for tomorrow night to put things right that what happened in March.
Well, for these Scotland players, 3 of their remaining 4 qualifiers are here at the National Stadium, starting of course with Greece on Thursday night. The last time the Greek side came here to Mount Florida, the Dark Blues tasted defeat, but Steve Clarke and his men have built a good platform in this group so far with 4 points out of the first possible 6. 3 points tomorrow night would be huge as Scotland look to the USA, Canada and Mexico, and a win here at the National Stadium, and it's fair to say our World Cup dream is certainly alive and kicking. Ronnie Charters, STV Sport at Hampden Park.
Yes, a huge game at Hampden tomorrow. Well, Scotland's women's head coach Melissa Andreatta believes Caroline Weir can be an inspiration to the nation's youngsters. The Real Madrid midfielder, who has been capped 112 times, became the first Scottish woman to be nominated for the Ballon d'Or, an award recognising exceptional footballers in Europe.
World-class player, but a genuine top human being. Loving working with her and all the other players around her, but she's so down to earth. So I love the football conversations we have together. They're in depth, they're detailed, but yeah, she's. I don't know what else to say about her. She's an excellent human being.
Your window to sport. CR Smith sponsors STV Sport.
That, folks, is just about all of your sport for tonight. Tomorrow night's sport, John, guess where it comes from? Hampden Park. Big game.
Give
for
me a chance, and then we get a chance.
This is my time.
Oh, sorry.
Hampden Park, head of the big game against Greece.
All right, Rahman, look forward to that. Thank you very much. Now, Joe Farrow has the weather forecast.
An icy start to the day will give way to a series of oohs and ahs. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Hello. For the middle of the week, we've seen a westerly flow off the Atlantic. This has been bringing with it a lot of cloud, and some heavier rain is developing through this evening. But things will be changing by the end of the week. This high pressure is beginning to build up towards Scotland, and that is going to settle the weather down. The winds will ease off, and then we'll see some fine weather, but also some chillier nights. For now, though, we've still got these strong winds, particularly along the west coast and for the far north. Now, during tonight, it will be this band of wet weather working its way down towards the south, particularly the southwest, and there will be some heavier rain for western upslopes as we go through the night. But with all that cloud around, it's not especially cold. So temperatures generally around 11 or 12, maybe towards the east there will be some clearer skies. That frontal band will still be across southwestern Scotland to begin with on Monday, but it is fading. And as that begins to break up, we will see some brighter skies, bit of a breeze still from the west, but that eases off through Thursday afternoon, and the temperatures responding. At this time of the year, they should be closer to 11 or 12. We're seeing around 15 or 16 Celsius, so feeling mild through the day. By the time we get to Friday, the high is across us. We will see more cloud along the west coast, a bit more brightness further east, and a fine weekend. Goodbye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Now, for 10 years, Movies to Musicals has been offering teens across Scotland the opportunity to step into the spotlight of professional performers in West End quality productions. Launched in 2015 as a way to increase the accessibility of the arts for all young people, the charity has brought productions to stages up and down the country. Tara Fitzpatrick caught up with them ahead of a 4-night run of Greece at the McRoberts Arts Centre in Stirling.
After months of rehearsing, these teens are set to welcome audiences to 1950s Rydell High. But this is no ordinary show. The charity Movies to Musicals aims to offer aspiring young performers the chance to step into the world of professional productions.
You really get the sense when you're here that they're trying to make the show the best they can for you and trying to make the show amazing, and it is. I'm very passionate about all of the arts. I think musical theatre is so valuable for people, especially young people. I think it really brings people out of their shell.
is just incredible, the amount of support that people come in, and it brings other people's families as well, from people from around Scotland. They all come and watch the show. So yeah, it's really great to reach out to all those different areas that would usually not get the opportunity to do something like this.
This show is directed by West End star Dale White, who played the original Eugene in the musical's UK tour.
Having access to the arts is huge. Not everyone's mind works in the same way, and lots of children are so diverse in the way that they learn, so everyone deserves access to different elements to be able to do that. So this is what hopefully it gives them.
It's very inclusive. If there's not a lot of opportunities around where you're from, I think it's quite central for everybody to get there.
It's just been unreal. I couldn't ask for better people to work with on stage. Being able to work with someone like Dale, who's from the West End, who's done the show before, has been so amazing.
Try difficult to put into words. Astonishing would definitely be up there. It's just been absolutely amazing.
The curtain will rise for 4 nights until the 11th of October, including a sing-along gala on a Friday night. Tara Fitzpatrick, STV News, Stirling.
And that was Elsa Tinney as Sandy, not Sharon Frew. These songs will stay in your head for the rest of the night. Now finally, a Scottish music fan has ended up with a video unlike any other after the American pop star Katy Perry grabbed their phone and filmed herself singing on stage. Ryan Murray was near the front of the crowd at the Hydro when the star took her phone mid-song. The 38-year-old described it as a once-in-a-lifetime experience. That's it from us. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.